It has been 50 years since Three's Company first brought three strangers together under one roof and made the whole world laugh. For 8 seasons, it was one of the most watched shows on American television. But here's what makes this one different from any cast update you have seen before. More than half of this cast is gone now. And the ones who are still here carry stories that will genuinely stop you in your tracks. So stay with me, because this one's going to mean something. Number 1. John Ritter as Jack Tripper. There are some performers who are so naturally gifted that watching them feels effortless. Like the camera was invented specifically for them. John Ritter was that performer. He was 27 years old when Three's Company began in 1977. Jack Tripper was a culinary student sharing an apartment with 2 women and pretending to be gay so their landlord would allow it. The premise sounds simple, but what John Ritter did with that role was anything but simple. His physical comedy was extraordinary. The pratfalls, the double takes, the perfectly timed reactions. Comedy scholars still study his technique today. He won an Emmy Award in 1984 for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series. He deserved 10 more. After Three's Company ended, John never slowed down. He starred in the spin-off Three's a Crowd, had a hugely successful run in 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, and built a film career that showed just how versatile he truly was. And then came September 11th, 2003. John Ritter collapsed on the set of 8 Simple Rules. He was rushed to hospital and died that same day from an aortic dissection. He was just 54 years old. The entertainment world went silent. His castmates, his friends, and millions of fans were completely devastated. He left behind 4 children, including actor Jason Ritter, who carries his father's warmth and talent so visibly it is sometimes breathtaking to watch. John Ritter did not just make people laugh. He made people feel genuinely happy. And that is a gift very few performers ever truly possess. Number 2. Joyce DeWitt as Janet would. Ask any honest Three's Company fan, and they will tell you the same thing. The show worked because of Joyce DeWitt. She was 28 years old when she stepped into the role of Janet Wood. The practical one, the grounded one, the person holding the entire apartment together while chaos swirled around her constantly. Janet was not the flashiest character on the show, but she was the one that made every scene believable. Joyce brought a sharp comedic instinct to the role that often went unrecognized simply because she made it look so easy. Her timing was impeccable. Her reactions were always exactly right. And her chemistry with John Ritter was the kind that cannot be manufactured in a writer's room. It was just there. Despite being a central part of one of the most watched shows in America, Joyce DeWitt never chased the spotlight after Three's Company ended in 1984. She largely stepped away from Hollywood and live her life on her own terms. There were some personal struggles along the way, including a 2009 DUI arrest that she has spoken about openly. But Joyce faced those moments honestly and moved forward with quiet dignity. In recent years, she has made select public appearances and participated in Three's Company reunion events, clearly still deeply proud of what that show meant to people. Today, at 75 years old, Joyce DeWitt remains one of the most genuinely beloved figures from that entire era of television. Janet would deserve more credit, and so does the woman who played her. Number 3. Suzanne Summers as Chrissy Snow. This one requires a moment, because Suzanne Summers was so much more than the role that made her famous. And her story deserves to be told with the respect it has earned. She was 30 years old when she joined Three's Company as Chrissy Snow. Bubbly, dizzy, endlessly sweet, and played with a comedic lightness that made her impossible not to love. Chrissy became one of the most recognizable characters on American television almost overnight. Suzanne Summers became a household name so fast, it was almost difficult to process. And then she did something almost nobody in Hollywood does. She stood up for herself. In 1980, Suzanne asked for a pay raise that reflected what the show's success was actually worth. The producers refused. She was written out of the series almost immediately. At the time, the industry largely sided with the studio. Looking back now, most people recognize that Suzanne Summers was simply ahead of her time. She was asking for equality before that conversation was welcome in Hollywood. What she built after Three's Company is genuinely remarkable. A fitness empire, a wellness brand, multiple best-selling books on health and aging. The Thigh Master became a cultural landmark. She reinvented herself so completely that a whole new generation knew her name long after the sitcom years had passed. On October 15th, 2023, Suzanne Somers passed away at the age of 76 after a long battle with breast cancer. She died at home, surrounded by her family, one day before her 77th birthday. Her husband, Alan Hamill, and her family released a statement describing her final hours as peaceful. The outpouring of love from fans around the world was immediate and enormous. Chrissy Snow made people smile every Friday night. But Suzanne Somers spent the rest of her life teaching people how to live better and longer. That is a legacy worth far more than any television role. Rest in peace, Suzanne. Number 4. Norman Fell as Stanley Roper. Every great sitcom needs a great antagonist. And Three's Company found theirs in the form of one permanently suspicious, perpetually grumpy landlord named Stanley Roper. Norman Fell was 50 years old when he took the role, and he was perfect for it. Stanley was nosy, cheap, and absolutely convinced that something inappropriate was happening in that upstairs apartment at all times. He was not wrong to be suspicious. He was just never quite right about the details. That gap between what Stanley believed and what was actually happening was the engine behind some of the show's funniest moments. What made Norman's performance work so well was the subtle humanity underneath all that grumpiness. Stanley was not a villain. He was just a tired middle-aged man trying to keep order in a building that refused to cooperate. Norman found that truth in every scene, and it made Stanley genuinely funny rather than simply irritating. He and Audra Lindley as Helen Roper became such a beloved duo that they were spun off into their own series called The Ropers in 1979. The show ran for 2 seasons and proved that audiences genuinely love these characters beyond their supporting roles. Norman Fell passed away on December 14th, 1998 at the age of 74 after a battle with cancer. He left behind a career spanning 5 decades of film and television work. Stanley Roper was suspicious of everything, but there was nothing suspicious about how talented Norman Fell truly was. Number 5. Audra Lindley as Helen Roper. If Stanley Roper was the thunder, Helen Roper was the lightning. Quick, unexpected, and impossible to ignore. Audra Lindley was 50 years old when she brought Helen to life. And what a creation Helen was. Romantically frustrated, sharp as a razor, and delivering some of the most perfectly timed one-liners in the entire series. Helen spent most of her time on screen either chasing Stanley's affection or finding creative ways to cope with his complete lack of it. Audra played every bit of that with a comedic precision that made it look completely effortless. The dynamic between Helen and Stanley became one of the most entertaining marriages in sitcom history. Not because it was happy, but because it was so painfully and hilariously real. Audra and Norman Fell had a chemistry that felt genuinely lived in, like 2 people who had been annoying each other comfortably for decades. When the Roper spinoff launched in 1979, Audra moved right along with it and continued delivering the same sharp energy that had made Helen so beloved in the first place. After the Ropers ended, Audra continued working steadily in television and film for years. She appeared in The World According to Garp and had various television roles throughout the 80s and 90s. Audra Lindley passed away on October 16th, 1997 at the age of 79, following a battle with leukemia. Helen Roper never got the romance she deserved on screen, but Audra Lindley gave audiences something far more valuable: laughter that still holds up today. Number 6. Don Knotts as Ralph Furley. There are very few performers in the history of American comedy who can walk into a room and make it funnier simply by existing in it. Don Knotts was one of those performers. He joined Three's Company in 1979 as Ralph Furley, replacing Norman Fell after the Roper spinoff launched. Ralph was the new landlord, loud, fashion-challenged, hopelessly hip in his own imagination, and completely oblivious to how the world actually saw him. Dawn played every inch of that with the kind of physical and vocal commitment that only a true comedy master can deliver. What many younger viewers may not realize is that by the time Don Knotts arrived on Three's Company, he was already a comedy legend. His role as Barney Fife on The Andy Griffith Show had earned him 5 Emmy Awards and secured his place in television history long before Ralph Furley ever existed. Joining Three's Company was not a comeback. It was simply Don Knotts doing what Don Knotts always did, making people laugh. His energy and timing brought a completely fresh dynamic to the show, and fans embraced Ralph Furley with an enthusiasm that confirmed Don's instincts were still absolutely razor-sharp. After Three's Company ended in 1984, Don continued working in film and television well into his later years. He reunited with Andy Griffith for several projects and remained one of Hollywood's most genuinely beloved figures. Don Knotts passed away on February 24, 2006 at the age of 81 after a battle with pulmonary and respiratory complications. Ralph Furley thought he was the coolest man in Santa Monica. Don Knotts was something far better than cool. He was genuinely irreplaceable. Number 7. Richard Kline as Larry Dallas. Every sitcom has that one character who exists purely to make everything more complicated. And Three's Company had Larry Dallas. Richard Kline was 31 years old when he took the role. Larry was Jack's best friend, a used car salesman with an endless string of schemes, an even longer string of failed romantic pursuits, and absolutely zero self-awareness about either. He was loud, confident, and wrong about almost everything. And Richard Kline played every bit of that with such genuine commitment that Larry became one of the most entertaining supporting characters of the entire series. What made Larry work was the friendship underneath all the chaos. When it mattered, Larry was genuinely there for Jack. Richard brought enough warmth to those moments that audiences never completely gave up on him, no matter how many ridiculous situations he created. After Three's Company ended, Richard Kline continued working in theater and television. He built a respected stage career and appeared in various television projects over the years. Unlike some of his castmates, Richard never aggressively chased Hollywood stardom after the show ended. He simply kept working steadily and consistently in the craft he loved. Today, at 79 years old, Richard Kline is retired from regular performing but remains deeply appreciated by fans of the show. Larry Dallas was a disaster in the best possible way, and Richard Kline deserves far more credit for making that disaster so consistently entertaining. Number 8. Jenilee Harrison as Cindy Snow. Stepping into a role that was vacated by one of the most popular characters on television is one of the hardest things any actor can be asked to do. Jenilee Harrison was asked to do exactly that. She was just 22 years old when she joined Three's Company in 1980 as Cindy Snow, Chrissy's cousin who moved into the apartment after Suzanne Summers departed. The audience comparisons were immediate and completely unavoidable. Cindy was clumsier than Chrissy, more awkward, and played with a different kind of innocence. Some viewers warmed to her quickly. Others took longer. What often gets overlooked is how genuinely difficult Jenilee's position was. She was a young actress stepping into an impossibly large shadow with the cameras rolling and the audience watching closely. She handled that pressure with a professionalism that deserves more recognition than it typically receives. Jenilee stayed with the show for 2 seasons before Priscilla Barnes joined the cast. After Three's Company, she appeared in Dallas and several other television projects throughout the 80s. She largely stepped away from Hollywood in the 90s and has lived privately ever since. Today, at 67 years old, Jenilee Harrison is rarely seen in public and has kept her personal life completely away from the spotlight. She came into one of television's toughest situations as a young woman and held her own with grace. That counts for a great deal. Number 9. Priscilla Barnes as Terry Alden. She came in during season 6 with the unenviable task of filling an apartment that had already said goodbye to 2 beloved roommates. And Priscilla Barnes did it with a confidence that immediately set Terry Alden apart from everyone who came before her. Priscilla was 26 years old when she joined Three's Company in 1981. Terry was a nurse, practical, quick-witted, and with a dry humor that felt genuinely fresh inside a show that had already been running for 5 years. Where Chrissy had been bubbly and Cindy had been clumsy, Terry was sharp. She could match Jack joke for joke and held her own in every scene she walked into. Priscilla stayed with the show through its final season in 1984 and brought a consistency and energy to those later years that helped the series end on its own terms rather than simply fading out. After Three's Company ended, Priscilla continued acting in film and television throughout the late 80s and 90s. She appeared in License to Kill, the 1989 James Bond film, and took on various television and independent film roles over the following decades. She has spoken openly in interviews about the challenges of life after a major television series and the difficulty of avoiding being permanently defined by a single role. Today, at 69 years old, Priscilla Barnes continues to work occasionally in independent film and remains proud of her contribution to a show that still makes people laugh more than 40 years later. Terry Alden walked into that apartment and made it her own, and Priscilla Barnes did exactly the same thing. 8 seasons, one unforgettable apartment, and a cast that made Friday nights something the whole family looked forward to all week long. 5 of the 9 people we talked about today are no longer with us, and that weight is real. John Ritter, Suzanne Summers, Norman Fell, Audra Lindley, Don Knotts. Each of them left behind something that television cannot replace and time cannot erase. But that is exactly why these stories matter. Because the people who made us laugh, who made us feel at home on a Friday night when we were kids, deserve to be remembered properly. Not just as characters, but as the real human beings they were. If this brought something back for you today, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss one of these. There are more coming, and every single one of them is worth your time. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you in the next one.